So look, we cannot consider the dead person or a dead organism or something being dead as a feature of something living, because it is going to contradict what we are asking. Right? In the question, what we are asking is what are the defining features for something that is living, and how can we consider something that is completely opposite of that as a feature for something that we are going to ask about. So you're asking about feature of something called living, and we are talking about something that is we are actually considering the feature a dead person being a feature of this. So that is not going to be the answer. I think yesterday Pandit Nihar Pandit or somebody was asking that question. Anyway, so going back, we had discussion on the scientific name, or that is the binomial nomenclature. Right. And we have discussed why it is important for us to give or for us to provide a binomial nomenclature to the living organisms or living creatures, right? Because you have millions of plants, animals, and other living organisms, and it is literally different and difficult. Sorry, it is literally difficult for us to study them without giving a common name. That common name is going to be known throughout the world by the scientific community, right? So that we can, when we talk about, let's say, Azadirachta indica, that is a scientific name of neem, if you have done it. So when somebody talk about Azadirachta indica, everybody knows in the scientific community that we are talking about a particular species, right? If you're going to talk about another thing, for example, you are talking about brinjal, or in Odia we call baigona, for example. So if you say that, people in our country, in our area, they will understand. But what about a person that is living in, let's say, North India, or a person living in America? They will not understand. But when we use the word Solanum, right? Solanum is going to refer to the genus, right? We have Solanum tuberosum for the potato. So when we talk about Solanum tuberosum, everybody will understand that we are talking about the potato and nothing else, a particular species of potato that we, right? So when we give a scientific name, we are actually going to pinpoint a particular plant species or animal species, and we are going to have a common name that can be referred throughout the globe. So we had talked about binomial nomenclature, and then we had talked about the rules that are going to govern them, right? Rules of binomial nomenclature, and we had talked about ICBN and ICZN, and we had learned about actually four major rules and another additional rules, right? I hope you all remember that. Now today what we're going to do is we are going to talk about the next concept, that is what are the aid that is required, or what are the additional things that we require when we study taxonomy. So there is something called taxonomic aid, right? In simple term, we are talking about taxonomy. Taxonomy is a study of the systematic organization of organisms or living organisms into different taxa, right? We are talking about taxa or taxon, right? That's how we can call it taxon, right? These are the groups in the organisms, different groups of organisms that are made based on similarities and differences. And if you remember, we had a hierarchy that we talked about. For example, we have species, right? And then we have the genus, right? And the hierarchy goes on all the way to, let's say, the kingdom, and finally it goes to the domain. Right? So we have a hierarchy of the taxon. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to learn about what are the different taxonomical aids that are there, which are going to help in the study of taxonomy, a study of the living organisms. Right? So to do that, I'm going to open the PowerPoint presentation. Yesterday evening, again, yesterday morning, I forgot. So night, I think Pratima had sent the PDF file, so you all can follow that for the notes and other requirements. So I'm going to open that file now, and we are going to go to that. Please. Okay, fine. So here you can see that we are given a few examples of that, of organisms with the different systemic position. So when we write the entire genus, family, or class for a particular organism, we talk about systemic position of that particular organism. So here you can see first example that we are talking about is of the humans, right? For humans, the scientific name or biological name or the biological nomenclature that is assigned is Homo sapiens. Now, when we say Homo sapiens, again, there are going to be different genus here. So, species is going to be sapiens, genus is going to be Homo, then family is going to be Hominidae, and order, primata, class, mammalia, and phylum. Here, because it is an animal, right? Humans are animals. So here, instead of division, it is going to be phylum. Remember that. Second example is of the housefly, the scientific name being the Musca domestica. So obviously, the genus name here is going to be Musca, and the species name is going to be Domestica. Now, the family that it belongs to is going to be called Muscidae, order is going to be Diptera, class is going to be Insecta, and the phylum here, because it is an animal, right here it is going to be the phylum, and the phylum is going to be Arthropoda. Now, next up you have the mango. Mango, again, this we had talked about it yesterday, Mangifera indica, and here the genus name is going to be Mangifera, species name is going to be Indica, family is going to be Anacardiaceae, order is going to be Sapindaeus, and then you have the class is going to be Dicotyledonate, right? For when we have learnt about the group that is gymnosperm and angiosperms, right? Especially the angiosperm, we have learned about two different groups, monocot and dicot. So this monocot and dicot here, what we do is we put them into two different classes. One is called Monocotyledonate and second is called Dicotyledonate. So we know mango is a dicot plant. So here the class is going to be Dicotyledonate. Now the phylum here, we do not use the word phylum here because this is a plant. We are going to use the word division when we discuss about plant. So here it is going to be angiospermic. Right? Angiospermic. Somebody's mic is on. Please switch off your mics. Okay, as I say, because it is going to be your dicotyledon belongs to angiospermic group, so the division here becomes angiospermic. And kingdom, of course, is going to be Plantae for the last two, and Animalia for the first. Sorry, Animalia for the first two, and Plantae for the last two. So for wheat scientific name is going to be Triticum aestivum, and genus name is going to be Triticum, species name is going to be aestivum, family is going to be Poaceae, order is going to be Poales, and the class is going to be Monocotyledonate, as we have talked about, and then division is again going to be angiospermic. So here we are just talking about 4 different organisms. You can learn much more than that, but at least for the examination's sake, you must know the systemic position of these 4 organisms. Clear? Now let's move on to understand something that we talked about, taxonomical aids. Now, first thing we have to understand is what are taxonomical aids. So you have to understand that taxonomic aids are devices or are instruments which are going to help us in understanding or identification and classification of the organism. In other words, it is going to help us to learn about organisms, or it is going to help us in the taxonomic studies. That's why these are called taxonomic aids. Aids means here refer to something that is going to help us to do what we are trying to do, that is taxonomic study. So as you can see on the screen, it is a storehouse of information and specimens which can help in identification and classification of organisms, which are going to be called the taxonomic aids. Now, study of various species of plants and animals in other organisms are going to be useful in different fields, for example, agriculture, forestry, different industries, right? We can make many of the commercially valuable products. So I'll give you an example for that, right? Microbes, for example, right? Lots of microbes are there that are going to help in our daily products that we use, consume. Bread, for example, bread is going to be made with the help of yeast. Saccharomyces cerevisiae is a microbe. Now we get antibiotics, right? Antibiotics we take it when we are going to have a bacterial infection, and in that case we need to use the antibiotics again, which are obtained from microbes or from fungi, we can call it, right? So similarly, we have many more uses. We get many of the products even for the forest, from the plants and animals. So until and unless we learn about them, we classify them, we know about their features, right? We cannot explore, and we cannot make new products out of them that are commercially or that are useful for human beings. See, we always do things that we are going to benefit from. We explore this world, we explore different the organisms because it can benefit us. That's all. So these studies are useful to know our bioresources and their diversity. Bioresource means what here? Biological resources means these are organisms or any other biological related services that are going to benefit us. We get something out of these organisms or specimens. These help in identification, naming, and classification of organisms. So the taxonomic aid is going to help in classification, identification, nomenclature, and classification of the organism. So we'll talk about taxonomy key, and I'll give you an example, and also I'll give you a funny, small assignment to you all, so that you can try to do that on your own. Anyway, let's move on. So the first one we are going to talk about is herbarium, right? Now I had a specimen of that. I was unable to find it, or else I would have shown you. But definitely, when you come back to the regular classes, I'm going to show you the herbarium. And as a part of the project, I would request some of you to do this herbarium. So as you can see in the picture here on the top side, say this is a very simple herbarium, right? So what is happening here in the herbarium? We take the plant specimen, we do it for the plants, not for animals. Okay. So what we do, we take a plant, right? Plant part, and the plant part should ideally contain, if it is a big plant, certain leaves, certain aerial parts with flowers, leaves, and certain stem parts. Fruits, if it is small, all right. If it is big, we cannot. So we take that, and because when we take the plant, it is going to have a lot of moisture or water content. So we are going to remove, we're going to dry it. How are we going to dry it? We're going to dry it by pressing it under like a blotting paper or newspaper for many days. And when we press it and dry it, right, it is going to get flattened, as you can see in the picture, and then we are going to stick it to a herbarium paper, right? There is a specialized herbarium sheets are available of specific size, and these are acid free. And in these herbarium sheets, what we do, we put that dried pressed plant specimen, and once we do that, what we do is we put a label on the herbarium sheet, as you can see here, and we put a label, and this label is going to contain information about what is the plant's name, scientific name, common name, right? When and where did you collect it, then who collected it, right? And which family does it belong to, that is scientific position that we are talking about. All of these informations are present. Now you might ask, sir, why we need to do all of these? It is very difficult, right? It is going to be a long process. Why we need to do that? See, many times what happens, we all know that plant or animal species are getting extinct because of human activities or any other reasons. So when we are going to have a new plant, let's say discovered, right? So at that point of time, you have to cross-reference whether this is actually something new or is it that already existing, right? We already have found out whether it is something novel or new. So to do that, what we can do is we can go to a herbarium and we can quickly refer, right, the entire herbarium, so that we will know if some new plant species that we have found is actually new or it is simply a repetition. So it is going to help in quick referral system in the taxonomic studies. So to summarize, herbarium, we are going to dry and press and preserve the plant material in a herbarium sheet, which is going to help in quick reference. So specimen plus description on herbarium sheet is going to be the herbarium, and that is going to be a repository for future use, for quick reference and for study and research. Now, what are the steps involved? Collection, right? We go collect the plant species, we dry it, and we poison it. Why poison? Poison with HgCl2, right? Mercury chloride. Now, why it is important? So that when we, if moisture is there in anything, for example, in this plant species, if moisture is there, then it is going to easily be infected by fungus. And if it is out of moisture, without moisture, then it is going to be of no problem. And after it is poisoned, then you're going to go for stitching and labeling, and we finally deposit it. And the size is given that is 41 into 26 centimeters square. That is the size of the herbarium sheet. Okay, and on the right side here, you can see actually a herbarium sheet, and you can see this part is actually the labeling, and you can see the flower is given, the stem parts are there, the leaves are there, right? So this is a very nice herbarium sheet, nicely dried. One thing that should not happen is there should not be folding here. 1 second. Rajesh. Hola. Or likh na. So, okay, so are you clear students?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
once you're back as a part of project, I would request some of you to take up this one. I'll help you out. It is a very nice. It will be a very nice project on herbarium. We would try to do it. I will do it along with you people's help. Okay. Now the second one is the botanical garden. The first 8 that we talked about is the herbarium. The second one is going to be the botanical gardens, right? Again, many of you might have visited some of these, and many of you will have a very good idea on what it is. So it's a very simple, explanation that we are going to have for the next 2 or 3 on. So it is a botanical garden, as the name suggests, is a place where we're going to grow and we're going to display, right? It can we can grow something that is medicinal plants, for example, and we can grow something that is unique that typically we do not find in that area commonly, and we are going to use that for research and for education, right? So we are going to have both for the research purpose and also for educational purpose. And each of the plant in a botanical garden is going to have a labelings, right? And in that labeling is what it will be like a metal plate or something out of a plate, name plate that is going to have the common name of the organism, the vernacular, that is your Hindi, or typically if it is in a local area, that is Korea, we will have that. Scientific name will have it, and the systemic position, which family, which order, which species, which genus. All of these are going to be labeled in that labeling that we're going to put. Every plant will have it. And meaning, if you go to a good herbarium, good botanical garden, even they'll have an additional, plate in which they will write down what are the common uses of that. So that is one thing you have to keep in mind for the second taxonomic aid that we are talking about. Now, if some of these, famous botanical garden is going to be the Royal Botanical Garden, as you can see on the screen. Then in India, we have one in the Indian Botanical Garden in Calcutta. We have the National Botanical Garden, Research Institute in Lucknow, and also you have one garden and medicinal plants in the West Bengal. So first one, as I said, is going to be Albanium, and the second one is going to be on the botanical garden. You have to remember some of these examples, right? What we're talking about, Royal Botanical Garden is one of the biggest actually botanical garden, and they also do have herbariums. Many of the botanical gardens also have herbariums within them. The next one is going to be the museum. Again, many of you have visited a museum, and these museums are for preserving, right? They have the plant and animal specimens actually are on display for, again, study purpose, reference purpose, and also for recreation purpose. Recreation means if you have a museum, we simply can go visit and you can learn or you can enjoy it. So for either for research, for reference, or also for recreation purpose, we have the museums. Now what we have in here? So if the specimens can be of plants or it can be of animals, and if the animals are bigger animals, right, they can be stuffed inside jar. Some of that you would have seen in labs, right? For example, you might have snake specimen, bird specimen, right? Then you can have the other invertebrate specimens inside small jar or big jars with something like a preservative, right? A liquid that we keep the animal in so that the cells are not going to be degraded. And many times you also see the bones, as you can see on the pictures here. You can see the bones or the entire skeletal system also might be on display. Now, when we talk about insects, right? Many of the museums also do have insects in them, and when we talk about insect, right, they are to be preserved in insect box, right? So what is an insect box? Insect box is a specialized structure where we are going to collect the insect, dry it, and pin it inside that. And you can see one of that in here, right? So this is an insect box, and also on the left side also we are going to have an insect box. So when we are going to have small insects, they are typically preserved in a pinned structure, that is collection, killing, and pinning, and it is going to be placed inside the insect box. And when we talk about really large animals, they're going to be stuffed and they're going to be preserved with the help of chemicals and preservatives. So the third one is going to be museum. Now the next one is going to be the zoological park. right? And I hope that many of you have visited the zoological park in Nandankanan, right? We have it in our state itself. So here what happens is zoological parks are the place where we are going to have the wild animals under protective, protected area, protected condition, so that people can come and visit, scientists can come do, they can learn, students can learn, scientists can do research. But again, all of that is going to be under a protected environment, so that we are not going to harm the animals, but we can learn from them, and we can actually enjoy them basically by seeing or by visiting. But all of these animals, these wild animals, are under protection, but again they're kept under their natural habitat. We are not changing their habitat, we're keeping them in their own natural habitat. And if it is not possible, then we try to simulate whatever condition is most close or most similar to that of their natural habitat. Now some of the famous zoo you can see, that is, you have the zoological park in Mysore, then you have Nehru Zoological Park in Hyderabad, then you have Trivandrum, Chennai Zoo, and of course you have the Nandankanan in Odisha. And these zoological park, they help us in studying the behavior and food habits of the animals, along with the other benefit that we can get here. Now, the last one for now is going to be taxonomic key. Okay. So we talked about herbarium, we talked about botanical gardens, then we talked about museum, and now zoological park, and now we are going to talk about the taxonomic key. It is slightly different than the remaining ones, and the taxonomic key is going to help in easy and quick identification of an organism. Let's see how it is done. So you can see here, keys are used for identification of plants and animals based on similarities and differences. And what we're going to have is, they're going to be analytical in nature. They will tell us whether it is yes or no, it is going to belong to somewhere or not. And it is based on contrasting characters in pair, and that is called couplet, right? So for each of the statements, right, we will see that there are going to be two statements, and you have to choose one and you have to discard one statement to come to the conclusion on what it is. Out of the two proposed characters, only one which is relevant is accepted, and the other one is going to be rejected. So two statements, accept one, reject the other one, and based on that, go to the next statement. Right? Each statement that we are accepting in the key is called a lead. Right? Each statement, out of the two we are accepting one, the statement that we accept is going to be called a lead statement in the key. And separate taxonomic keys are required for each taxonomic category, such as family, genus, and order. We cannot use a universal taxonomic key, and keep in mind that for every taxon, right, every group, we have to have separate taxonomic key. So what I'm talking about, let's see, if you see this, it is going to be very clear. Now what you see here is, you are going to have 10 different points, and each point is going to have two different statements, right? And down what you see the leaves. Okay, so use the key to identify the three unknown trees shown below, right? Now at the end, right, here you can see three different statements. Now what you have to do is, you have to go by one each of the statement. First, leaves are alternate. Again, you cannot solve it right now, because to solve this you have to understand the morphology, only then you can solve it. But again, I'm going to keep this, and once you complete the taxonomy chapter, I'm going to come back to this. So leaves are alternate. If yes, you have to go to statement number 2 as it is given here, right? So and if the leaves are opposite or whole, you have to directly go to point number 7. So you skip all of these and go to 7 after 1. So here this is a lead statement, and then out of these again you have to search. Let's say leaves are whole, right? And if that is the case, then simply you are going to come to a conclusion what your species might be. If not, again you have to go to point number 8. Then again you have to choose one. So at every stage, in every point, there are two statements of that. You have to select one and you have to reject one. So if I select a statement, for example, in the first point I selected the leaves are alternate. So that is a lead. That is a lead for me, lead statement for me, and I'm going to go based on that to the point number 2. Right? In the 2, leaves are simple, yes or no. Leaves are compound, yes or no, and you have to select one. And based on that, again you have to go to that particular number or that particular feature and continue. And finally, as you can see, when you come down, right, you will get the answer which a particular plant species we are going to talk about. So to solve this, I'm going to share with you one small PDF file. It's a funny one in the biology group later on, so that you can try to solve it. It's a funny cartoonish type thing that you can try to solve it. So are you clear with the taxonomy key, dear students?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay, I will share that video. I'll share the PDF. Try to solve it. It will be fun. Okay. Now we are coming to the last part. What are the other aids, right? Along with the taxonomic aids, what are the different things that we are still having, right? So here there are new flora, manuals, monographs, and catalogs, right? So these are the different taxonomic aids that are going to help in this particular taxonomic process. So they are help in correct identification. So of these water manuals, they're going to provide information for the identification of names of various species in a particular area. So if for one particular area, all the plant species that are present, we can identify based on the help of a manual. It is restricted or it is limited to a particular area. Now what about monographs? Monographs is going to talk about only one taxon. Remember, about one taxon, it is going to have the information. Okay, not about different species or different genus or different family, but it can be any one of the taxon on which it is going to have the information. So that is your manuals and monographs. Catalogs, anyway, they are simply the it is going to help again in the different processes. They're going to have information on the different plant and their features, or animals and their features. So these are the taxonomic aids that you have to understand. That is your herbarium, right? We are going to dry the plant specimen, press it and preserve it in herbarium sheets. And second also botanical garden, where we have the plants growing for the purpose of research and education. And then we're going to have the museum. Museum is for the purpose of, one second. So museum we're going to have for the purpose of displaying and showing the living organisms, right? So not living organisms. The preserved specimens here, we can have the display of the skeletal system or the insects or the animals in or specimens in jar. Then you're going to have the zoological part, where we are having the living organisms that can be used for the purpose of recreation, study, or research, education. And finally, we're going to have the taxonomy key, right, which is going to help us in quick identification, quick referral, quick identification based on a couplet or a paired contrasting traits. Select one, reject one. If you select it, it is called a need statement. If you reject it, go to the next point based on that, that and you have to remember that for each taxon, the taxonomic keys will be different. Along with that, we also talked about the minerals and monographs, right? So these are the things that you have to learn in this particular chapter, my dear student. And with this, we have successfully completed the chapter number 1. It's a very small chapter, as I said earlier. The chapter is over, and right now your job is to go through the chapter. You have to read it once, and I'll be sharing certain questions based on this chapter that you have to write up in your. You can write up in a separate notebook that we are going to use at homework. If you have got the notebook with you from the school, use a long notebook for biology homework and one for biology class. Make notes based on what I've been teaching in the board or in the PPT presentation. The remaining thing that I have taught you today, PPT will be shared with you today itself after maybe 5-10 minutes of the class. Yesterday I forgot, but today I definitely send it to you. Anyways, so right now, if you have any questions, please do ask. We have around around 7 minutes. You have any doubts? Yes or no? If not, no. Okay, we can close it. Pratik, ask.
Sir, can you once again explain about taxon, sir?
Okay. So taxon is a word that we are going to give to any particular group. Okay. Any group that we make. See, when we study about organisms, living organisms, we know that we cannot study them all. So what we do is simple. We group them together so that if we read or if you understand about one member of that group, we will get a very good idea, overall idea of the entire group of organisms, right? So you want to learn about mammals instead of studying every single mammal on earth, which is practically impossible for us. What we will do, we'll group all of the mammals together, and we will say that yes, mammals are a group of organisms who are having feature 1, feature 2, feature 3, feature 4. So these features are common to those mammals. Similarly, you talk about another group of organisms which are going to belong to genus level, so you group them together. So each of this grouping that we make, each of these taxonomic group that we create are going to be referred to as taxon, right? For example, you have the taxon at the species level, genus level, family level, class, order, family levels, right? So these all are called one taxon. Am I clear, Pratik?
Yes, sir.
Anybody else?
Sir, doubt.
Yes, sir. Your name, please.
Sir, Deepak.
Deepak, I have a request. Please change your user ID to your name. All are requested to change your user ID
Okay,
to your full name. Okay, so that we can identify you.
Okay,
Ask
sir.
Deepak. Ask.
Sir, isn't there any trinomial nomenclature?
Yes, trinomial nomenclature is there, and much more complex nomenclature is there. But again, we are not going to learn it here. I am reserving that for the NEET classes. We are going to talk about that in those classes. Right? We have to learn few more
Okay, sir.
things so that we can understand about the trinomial nomenclature and some of the recent advancement. See, again, trinomial nomenclature is actually present. It has been discovered. It has been used by few. But even today, in the scientific community, right, everybody uses the binomial nomenclature. We have not shifted to the use of the trinomial nomenclature. But nothing harm in actually learning about it. So we will definitely learn about that. Clear, Deepak?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Anybody
Yes,
else?
sir.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
sir,
Name.
sir, can we differentiate, Sritij, sir?
Cities, yes.
Sir, can we differentiate between taxon and species, sir?
Yeah, of course. Taxon is referring to the groups, different groups that we use in taxonomy, right? Whereas species, right? Species refer to a group of organisms which are similar enough. They are similar, right, in their morphology, anatomy, and physiology, so that they can reproduce among themselves and produce offsprings or children. So they are called species. Now, species can be a taxon. Like species is a taxon, genus is a taxon, but we cannot say taxon is a species, right? So species can be a taxon. It's a group that we are talking about in the taxonomic study. Species we are talking about if only they can reproduce among themselves and produce fertile offspring, we will call them as a species. It's a group of organisms with kind of lots of similarities actually. And you know, as we go from species to kingdom, the similarity is going to decrease actually. The maximum we'll have it here, the least we'll have it here. Yes. Anything else?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Anybody is having any other doubt? Pandit is there? Pandit? Yesterday you had a doubt? Here, I guess. Okay then, I'm going to close it here. I'm going to meet you in the WhatsApp group in a minute. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome, sir. Welcome.